All right, it's time for another baseball movie review. Baseballmapper boys, Patrick, Corey, you know us. This time, we watched a movie called For the Fun of the Game, a 2018 documentary about the St. Paul Saints.
St. Paul Saints, who are now in the American Association. No,
They were
in the American Association. Yeah. They moved to minor league this year. So
just became an affiliated team. This is a major deal for this movie,
right.
I felt.
Right. Yeah, most of the movie, they're in the Northern League. That's why I was a little confused there.
Right.
So the movie's from 2018, but the team started in 1993 and continued on until 2020, I guess, or 2019. No, so they played 2020, right? As in the American Association. They played last year.
I think so. Not 100%. We have to double check that. There was like 6 teams that played during the pandemic.
Right. So, up until then, they were independent and they flipped. And that was a big part of their identity, was being an independent team. And that comes out in the film. So it's an interesting take on a team who, is now affiliated, whose identity was a big part of being non-affiliated.
Right. And so one of the main takeaways from this film is that Bill Veeck's son is part owner of the team. Bill Veeck, who is a super famous Hall of Fame owner with the White Sox, some other teams as well, but really kind of is the pioneer of the promotion, the ballpark promotion. And so his son, whether it's the White Sox exploding scoreboard, disco demolition night, all the things that went into their success, he kind of takes his dad's mentality as the owner of an independent league team. And in the 90s, again, independent baseball is not a major thing. And they decide to go ahead and give it a shot. But it's in St. Paul, Minnesota, miles away from a major league franchise, which was a big concern.
Yeah, so they had a big name. They had Bill Murray attached.
Yeah, he's part owner.
As part owner. And with, I think, 3 other gentlemen, they created the league with the idea that, like, all right, this is a total gamble. We might lose everything. But let's have some fun here. And that's what they did. They went, full, minor league baseball with all the crazy, wacky sort of promotions and stuff. And it worked immediately. They, their first game, they expected 2,000. It completely rained. They got 4,000. Yeah. Everybody stuck around, umbrellas out and all that. And at that point, they sort of knew they had something. And it took off from there. They were really successful in those first few years.
They not only off the field with the promotions, fan engagement, all that, but they also had a really good team. From the beginning, they win a championship in their first season. You actually see quite a few championships in this film, which I thought was interesting. So a lot of success on the field. And they talk about that in the documentary, that there is a demand when you are a minor league franchise that you cannot just be a circus. You cannot just be the games and all of the wackiness. You also have to have some sort of baseball product on the field. Yeah. And they had it.
Yeah, so to kick that off, they signed some former MLB players that appear in the film. And that's an interesting twist where they're super grateful. A lot of these guys were at the tail end of their career to get the team kicked off. And then as the team was successful, you see some players that got their start in the baseball, as a last chance.
Right. Didn't get drafted.
Right. Got cut from minor league squads, ended up with the St. Paul Saints, and that kickstarted their career with affiliated baseball and then on to the majors. So it was a really interesting, dynamic to pull in the old hats from MLB as well as, bring along new ones. And I think they set off that first season, they had 5 players on a roster that ended up going and being MLB players, which is incredible.
That's pretty good. For an independently, that is not a place where MLB is looking to draw talent from, but it just shows like the possibility. And so all these players who are signing with the Saints, hoping they'll get a chance, it actually does pay off. And I think that continued. I think that's the message you got all down the road through a current time as an independent franchise, you still had a chance.
Yeah.
You put on a uniform, you still have a chance. Yeah. I think that part's cool. You see them playing through recession. A lot of success, some different people coming on board. They played through the recession in 2008. They have to get a new stadium. You had mentioned in this film, this was kind of like a real big spotlight on the success of the St. Paul Saints organization as a whole, almost like a commercial.
Yeah, it did have that sort of aspect to it. So if you're not maybe interested in the back office,
you're going to meet every single person in their back office, every one of them.
So that's a big part of how this movie plays out. It's a documentary about kind of the back officeness of it. You're not super into the on-field,
the players, right,
and all that. So it was interesting to me, and in particular with the public funding, at least partially, of the new stadium, and all they went through to get that developed. It's an interesting, progression. They were selling out this old stadium, and I feel like there's parallels to the Beloit Snappers. Similar old timey stadium. They're moving to a brand new facility, and what does that mean for the community and the fans and all that? Of course, the team's trying to say it's going to be the same thing.
It's going to be this. We're still going to be here,
Saints, right?
We're still reaching the same fans, but it will change a little bit. It will,
and but their attendance numbers are incredible. They were talking 8,000 to 10,000 people. That's a lot for an independent league.
You learn about the success of the St. Paul Saints in this video and what makes them successful, and part of it is being kind of a pioneer type of idea. But we've already seen the Portland Mavericks as a pioneer independent league team. So we're starting to see a pattern. If you want to make a name for yourself, you have to be willing to do something a little different. That's what the Mavericks did in the 70s. Yeah. That's what the St. Paul Saints did and kind of ran with from the 90s into the 2000s. And now we have the Savannah Bananas.
I feel like the torch is being passed.
Right.
And I totally,
100%.
Within 5 years, expect a documentary about the Savannah Bananas,
if not sooner,
right, to come out and have the same sort of story. So it's interesting. I saw the Mavericks documentary, right? We saw that, and I had no idea about that. Mm-hmm. I had no idea about the St. Paul Saints being. They called themselves the most successful minor league organization ever. I didn't know that was a thing. And, I have met Jesse Cole, the owner of the Savannah Bananas. I sort of consider them now pretty much one of the most successful minor league organizations. And, I feel like nothing's new. Like, this has all happened before with the Saints. It happened before with the Mavericks. And the formula is the same. And I think, a big part of it is the ownership group, the general manager that can drive the innovation and all that. And Jesse's the guy for that now.
Right. It looks a little different now, but the fan engagement, the players with the fan base, all of those things parallel. Right. Portland Mavericks, St. Paul Saints, Savannah Bananas. What do you think about this film? Does it have the mainstream appeal?
Erica, my wife, probably not going to want to watch this. I think you got to be not only a baseball fan, but a minor league baseball fan.
Right. You've got to have somewhat of an interest in the seeing the way the organization is kind of running,
or live in the Minnesota, St. Paul, Twin Cities area.
Right. They got a lot of pub.
For them, I think this is an essential watch. With the transition to minor league baseball, because there's so much emphasis on their anti-minor league baseballness.
Right.
It's an interesting, situation for them.
It does make us, the question we raised thinking about it after watching it was, how would they feel about it today now that they are affiliated? Because a lot of times an independent league wants to be different, wants to be separate from Major League Baseball, and now the St. Paul Saints anymore. So this documentary, 2018, for the fun of the game, is a little outdated. I'd like to see what what a sequel would be now that they are an affiliated team. We're going to go ahead and post a link for you guys It's an Amazon Prime link. We rented it through that. We'll put that in there for you. Go ahead and give it a spin. See what you think about it. And make sure you're following us at Baseballmapper on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere you can see these videos. And we'll keep watching other movies and let you know what we think. Until next time.